Chat Sports, what's going on? Welcome into another edition of NBA Now, and I'm finally back. So I'm going to break down the Lakers roster for next season. Now look, I've done this one before, but the Lakers roster's gone through a ton of changes, so I'm going to break all those down and tell you what it looks like right now. Starting out with the top four players for the LA Lakers, and I think it's pretty clear who the top four are for next season. It's LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, and Danny Green. Now, we're not 100% sure all these guys are going to start, but we'll get into that in just a second. One guy that we know that will start will be LeBron James. Now, apparently he's going to start at the point guard position. We'll see if that actually happens, but I do expect him to have the ball in his hands most of the time. Look, he's still the king. He's still the main guy in LA, the main guy in the NBA for that matter. You know what you're going to get out of LeBron James every single night. Now, one of the newer guys in town, Anthony Davis, on the other hand, we're going to see what we get from him. Look, he's a double-double machine. He always has been. He always is in New Orleans. Always was in New Orleans, I guess I should say. And you really expect him to be the second best, if not the best player on this Lakers team next season. And look, when you get the dynamic duo of LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's absolutely ridiculous. LeBron last year in a quote-unquote down season put up 27.4 points per game, 8.5 boards, and then 8.3 assists. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis in New Orleans put up 25.9, 12 boards, and then he blocked shots at a great rate at 2.4. For both of these guys, it was kind of a down year. LeBron with injuries, Anthony Davis with all of his drama in New Orleans. But now they get to team up together in LA and be one of, if not the most dynamic duo in the league next season. Now, the guy everybody expects to be the third star in Los Angeles eventually is Kyle Kuzma. He's been with Team USA this offseason. He's been putting in a lot of work. I like what I've seen out of him. It looks like he's getting more and more mature. And last year, obviously he had the ball in his hands a lot because the Lakers weren't winning games after LeBron went down. He put up the numbers you'd expect him to. 18.7 points per game and 5.5 boards. Pretty good rebounder. Could be a little bit better for his size. But at the end of the day, the thing I need to see from Kyle Kuzma is that efficiency go up. He shot 45.6% from the field and 30.3% from three. Pretty good, respectable, but it needs to get better if he wants to be a true third option on this LA team. Now with Kuzma, does he start or does he come off the bench? It's going to be interesting to see. I think he's perfectly suited in that six-man role next season. However, one guy that absolutely should start at the two guard, it's Danny Green. He does everything you want him to do. He's a 3-and-D type player. He defends guards. He defends wings. He knocks down open shots. I mean, in all reality, he was a key piece to this Toronto Raptors championship team, and he kind of gets overlooked because Kawhi left, but Danny Green also left. He was in that starting five. He was an important player, and one of the most important things about him is that he can shoot the three ball. I mean, last season, the top three-point shooters when it comes to percentage was Joe Harris of the Brooklyn Nets at 47.4%. Danny Green, obviously with the Raptors last year at 45.5%. And then Seth Curry of the Dallas Mavericks, formerly with the Portland Trail Blazers, he also shot 45%. Danny Green's right there at number 2. That's what you need with guys like LeBron and AD on the floor. You need elite three-point shooters. That's what he is. So let's circle back around to AD and LeBron. Which of the two is going to be the Lakers' go-to player next season? It's crunch time. You need one bucket. Who are you giving it to? If you think it's going to be AD, type AD. If you think it's going to be LeBron, type LJ in the comment section below. I got to go with the king. I'm always giving the ball to LeBron in crunch time. So that's the top four. But let's get into another set of four players. These are the potential starters in Los Angeles next year because I don't really know what this starting five is going to look like quite yet. We obviously have LeBron. We obviously have AD. I'm pretty sure Danny Green is going to start. I think that's almost a given. But who else fills out that roster? Your potential starters are Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So let's start with the newest Laker. It's Dwight Howard. Look, last year he was with the Washington Wizards. He kind of was with the Wizards, I guess I should say, because he was hurt all the time. But before that, before this weird offseason and weird season before for Dwight, he had a really nice year in Charlotte in 2017-2018. 16.6 points per game. 12.5 boards. This is another guy who was a double-double machine when he was healthy. Pretty good shot blocker at 1.6. Obviously nothing like his Orlando days. And he played in 81 games for the Hornets. I mean, this was just 2 years ago, Dwight Howard. So maybe, just maybe he can get back to that. And if he does, he's an obvious candidate to be a starting center in Los Angeles. And let's also not forget, that he has played the second most amount of years in the league behind LeBron James. LeBron's played 16, Dwight Howard's played 15, so he gives you experience. And let's look at that starting five with Dwight Howard on the floor. You got Dwight in the middle, Anthony Davis at the power forward position where he's more comfortable. LeBron James is your 3, who's really going to handle the ball more. Danny Green at the 2. And I've got Rondo in there as the quote-unquote starting point guard just because he can actually guard point guards. But I don't know if he's going to be there or not. We'll get to him in just a minute. Let's talk about another potential starter at the 5, though. JaVale McGee. I mean, last season he really did step up. He looked a lot better. He wasn't his Shaqtin' a fool JaVale McGee. He actually looked like a solid starting center in the NBA. And the numbers proved that. I mean, 12 points per game, 7.5 boards, and really a feared rim protector at 2 blocks per game. And oh yeah, that 12 points per game, that was a career high for JaVale McGee. So you have to think that Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd are at least going to consider him for that starting center position. Now let's look at another guy. Let's go a different route. We looked at 2 centers. I want to look at a wing that could potentially start because you got LeBron at a wing position. You got Danny Green at a wing position. Maybe you want one more, and that is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, Caldwell-Pope's had his off-the-court issues. He's very inconsistent, but he can guard smaller guards all the way up to smaller 3s, maybe even some bigger small forwards. But defensively is where his bread and butter is, and he should be a better scorer than he is. You know, last year, 11.4 points per game, and then the rest of his numbers aren't pretty. 2.9 rebounds, 1.3 assists. And the three-point percentage at 34.7% just ain't going to cut it. I've always heard it said Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's got one of the prettiest looking shots that you just know isn't going to go in because there's no consistency with his game whatsoever. However, his defensive ability does make him a prime candidate to start some games. Speaking of defensive ability, Rajon Rondo, we got to talk about him, right? You bring him back. He's got the high basketball IQ. He's probably going to be a coach in the league someday. And he can guard small point guards. You don't want LeBron James chasing around the Steph Currys and Damian Lillards of the world. That's what Rondo can do. That's why he makes sense at the starting point guard position. Whatever his role is, it's going to be a big one in LA next season. So look, my ideal starting 5 for this Lakers team is Rondo, Danny Green, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and one of JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard, whichever one proves himself more. Right now, I lean JaVale McGee because I can trust him a little bit more. But what's your ideal starting 5 for this Lakers team? Let me know in the comment section below. Go point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. All the way down to the bottom. Let me know in the comment section. All right, now let's get into the role players. These are the guys that are going to definitely be coming off the bench. I don't see them starting. Maybe one of them, but we'll get to him in just a second. Now, one guy that I love and I think is being overlooked is Quinn Cook. This was a quality signing for the Los Angeles Lakers. He was with the Golden State Warriors, and you know, if you know Quinn Cook, if you know his story, G League to NBA, back to G League, back to NBA, till he finally got solidified into a role with the Golden State Warriors. Last season, you know, 7 points per game doesn't really jump out to you, but the 3-point percentage at 40.5%, that's impressive. That's what you want from a backup guard. That's what Quinn Cook brings you. I like him a lot. Now, one guy the Lakers signed that people liked more than I did is Avery Bradley. He's not the same Avery Bradley that came into the league from Texas, was supposed to be this defensive stud. He's not that anymore. He's a little out of shape. He can't really score that well. He's got long arms, and that's great, but it's not enough. I think he'll play an important role. Some nights he'll play a lot. Some nights he'll get like 7 to 8 quick minutes. I don't know. I'm not that high on Avery Bradley. Throw all your hate at me if you want to for that. Hater Jimmy's back, but I'm kind of on Avery Bradley there. But one guy I love, and your favorite play, it's your favorite player's favorite player. It's Alex Caruso. I mean, how can you not love the guy? I think he's actually going to be a role player this year. I think he gets consistent minutes at the point guard or 2-guard position a little bit for the LA Lakers. He's a pretty good shooter. He's a sneaky athlete, and of course you got to use the term sneaky athlete when you look at a guy like Alex Caruso. I'm excited to watch him next year. I'm excited to watch him going forward. I liked him coming out of A&M. I like him now in the NBA. We'll see what he becomes for the LA Lakers. So, which player, so these are obviously the role players, the guys that nobody really expects to do too much. Which player is going to surprise the people the most for the LA Lakers next season? For me, I got Quinn Cook. I think people are overlooking that signing. I think he's going to be worth a lot more than people expect. I'm excited to see him on the floor next year for the Los Angeles Lakers. So, Every team's got to fill out the roster somehow. Let's look at the end of the bench guys for the Lakers next year. They brought in 3 guys that I like, but I don't see them getting consistent minutes. Troy Daniels, Jared Dudley, and Talen Horton-Tucker. Let's start with Troy Daniels, because this is the one guy of the 3 that I think could become a consistent role player because he can shoot. And if you can shoot in the league, you can be in the NBA for as long as you want. Example, Kyle Korver. He's been in the league forever. All he does is spot up and shoot threes. Now he didn't used to only do that, but now it's all he does. Troy Daniels could become that. You know, he's not great at a lot of things, but when you need shooting, Troy Daniels is your guy. There's going to be nights where he doesn't play. There's going to be nights where his three ball is falling and he plays 20 minutes that night, but we'll see. Another guy that they signed more for off the court reasons rather than on the court is Jared Dudley. You bring in a veteran leader. Everybody loves him on the bench. He's a big-time locker room guy. Don't really expect to see him getting any primetime minutes unless, of course, you want to see him lock up Ben Simmons once again. But everybody loves Jared Dudley. He's just not going to get any real NBA minutes in meaningful games. And then finally, from a vet to a rookie, Talen Horton-Tucker. Obviously, they drafted him in the 2nd round out of Iowa State. I said it was a steal when it happened. I still believe that. A little on the chunky side, but he's got a ridiculous wingspan. He was one of the youngest players in the draft this year. He's got a lot of time to develop. We'll see how much he actually plays for the Lakers. But maybe he spends more time in the G League. But what do you guys think? Where will Talen Horton-Tucker spend a majority of next season? If you think it's going to be the NBA, type N. If you think it's going to be the G League, type G. I'm going to say G League because I'm not hating. I like him. I'm not hating on him. I want to see him get real minutes. And if you can get game time action, that's way more important than riding the bench in an NBA game. I'll be typing my G for G League. Now let's get into the two-way players. These are the guys that'll spend half the season in the NBA, half the season in the G League. For Kostas Antetokounmpo, though, I think he spends all of next year in the G League. Look, I watched a lot of Kostas last year. I promise, I really did. Like full games, not just little clips. He's not NBA ready. He's super raw. He's coming out of Dayton. He probably shouldn't have come out of college in the first place. He's not his brother. I mean, if that's what you're expecting, you're going to be sorely disappointed because he can't do the things Giannis can. I'm not sure if he ever will, if I'm being frank. But moving on, enough hate on Kostas. Zach Norvell Jr. out of Gonzaga. Now, this kid I like a lot because in college, he was an elite three-point shooter, and he can score the ball. You're just like, hey, Zach, we need a bucket. Okay, he's going to go do that. And if you're a two-way guy trying to make the league, that's what you got to be able to do is be able to score buckets in bunches. That's what he does. So I'd say he'd be the better of the two-way players, but what do you think? Which of the two will be the better one? Type ZN for Zach Norvell Jr., type KA for Kostas Antetokounmpo. Maybe you think I'm an idiot. That's fine. Type KA for Kostas Antetokounmpo. Prove me wrong. So let's look at the rest of this like training camp type roster going into next year. And also one guy that, of course, is on the roster, but isn't really going to be playing. It's DeMarcus Cousins. So the latest on Boogie is that he's being investigated for threatening the mother of his child. I don't want to get too much into that because he's got a lot of other issues going on when it comes to health. He just tore his ACL in a pickup game after tearing his quad in the playoffs after rupturing his Achilles. So DeMarcus Cousins might not ever come back. Like, I genuinely think there's a real chance Boogie does not come back and play a meaningful game in the NBA. I hope that's not the case, but it's very realistic. If you're dealing with 3 of the biggest injuries in the NBA, that's a huge problem. So you got to ask the question, when will he return? How will he return? And will he ever return? I don't know anymore. But enough about Boogie. Let's go into another guy who's on an Exhibit 10 contract. This is Demetrius Jackson. Now, you probably remember him from his days in Notre Dame because his days in the NBA have been forgettable. This is going to be his 5th season. He spent time with Boston, Houston, and Philadelphia. And over 4 years, he's only played 26 games. However, I will say this, he's still only 24 years old. So maybe, just maybe, there's a spot for him somewhere in the league. Now, one guy that I just love, I hope he makes an NBA roster. I don't think it'll be the Lakers, but maybe. Devontae Cacok out of UNC Wilmington. Look, in the Summer League, this guy killed it. Now, he's only on a training camp roster deal, so we'll see what happens there. 12 points per game, 8.5 boards, and he shot 60% from the field. He's just a big dude that kind of bullies himself down low. I like him. I just don't know where he fits on this Lakers roster. And then finally, when it comes to training camp guys, Jordan Caroline out of Nevada. Another guy that had a really impressive summer league for this LA Lakers team, 14.6 points per game and 4 boards, but that's not that important when you look at his three-point percentage, 47.1%. I think he could play some meaningful minutes in the NBA sometime. I don't think it'll be with the Lakers next year. Maybe he's on a G League contract. I think he would be able to develop really nicely for the Lakers. So, guys, we just went through the whole roster. I mean, we went top to bottom. We went LeBron James all the way down to Devontae Cacok. So, here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell me what seed the Los Angeles Lakers are going to finish as next season. Put it down in the comment section below, and then I'll let you know what I think.